evidence they use for evolution in general, if you look at my video number 4, is either lies or extremely weak, and in a court of law would never hold up. So my point is...
Well, actually, it has held up, like in the Supreme Court. If that's...
No, evolution's never been put on trial at the Supreme Court. The question was, should creation be taught? Now, that's gone to the Supreme Court.
Okay, good point. Okay,
and the court said, no, creation involves a religion. If they would have done the very same thing, and somebody would have pushed the issue and said, evolution involves a religion, the court would have ruled, yes, you're right, it does.
Well, why haven't you sued somebody and taken it to the Supreme Court then?
Well, that needs to be done. I may do that, but I've been kind of busy here.
Well, I'd like to see that, Ken.
It should be done. The evolutionists should be required to prove their point in a court of law, not just in front of a bunch of students who are already scared of their teacher for grade's sake. And
I think there's no proof in science problem.
Okay.
That's the reason why up on the power of the evidence, because it's always going to be sufficient. Requires that level of rigor.
Well, I think that the taxpayers in this country, who 60% of them do not believe in evolution, it is only fair if they're going to pay the salaries of these teachers and if they're going to purchase these textbooks, then the level of evidence better get better than it is, or they're going to continue to gripe about it.
The problem is that we have a contract with our government to not do that. We can't have religion in public schools.
We do. When we teach evolution, we have religion. That's my point.
But if there were any substance to that claim, somebody else would have already championed that in the court system.
That's a lousy argument. It's because there's no substance. A lot of things ought to be taken through the courts that aren't.
I got a quick question real quick. Why is it that whenever, you look at some of these textbook stickers, whenever they say that we want to just think more critically about evolution, and they're not even introducing any creation material? For instance, with a Roger DeHart situation, he wanted to bring in current scientific magazines, secular magazines, just to show problems with Darwinism or neo-Darwinism. Why is that automatically barked at as a religious movement?
I think it's because people understand that it is part of religion. I don't think that encouraging people to think critically about anything particular is ever a bad thing, and I would never...
Okay, would you be in favor of allowing teachers to bring in evidence to their class that says, hey, our textbook says on page 85, the tailbone is vestigial. However, here are 10 science journals saying, no, it's not vestigial, we're wrong. So therefore, kids, we're not going to study this tailbone being vestigial part. Should kids be warned that their textbooks are at least out of date on the evidence?
I would go with you that far.
Okay.
According to a very important definition of out of date or whatever.
Well, many of the stuff is just carried over from year to year, too. You can look at Discover Magazine recently did that article, Our Bodies Are Littered with Parts We Don't Need, and many of them, they called these functionless. I was just looking at my science book last night, and they said vestigial is functionless. And I know many atheists and evolutionists, they say, no, vestigial just means lack of function or a function that's diminutive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, even some textbooks, from secular perspectives, are still saying vestigial organs are functionless. And I could, get you a list of that if you like. But if you just look in, like Discover Magazine did this, they said they have no use. I went to a general practice textbook for doctors and pre-med, and they had uses. They listed the functions and uses for practically everything Discover Magazine had listed.
Sure. The term vestigial is a real problem in this space.
Well,
because
I know that, but Discover Magazine, they defined it in their article by saying parts we don't need and things that are, completely
useless. And that was
useless.
just in the last few months.
It's
November
sloppy,
of last
but
year.
come on, it's totally sloppy, I'll agree, but I mean, I see things published in
well, that's the kind of stuff we're trying to correct. We're trying to get the truth out there when they're publishing...
There's nothing wrong with correcting errors in the textbook.
Well,
All I'm trying to say is that even if you took, popularizer math books that are supposed to make math more popular by making it fun, I can find errors in those. But it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the intention of the author, that they were deliberately doing it.
I would agree with you there. And I think a lot of these textbook authors are sincerely teaching what they think to be true because that's what they were taught.
Yeah, and I saw Haeckel's embryo drawings in a book last night, in biology books in the late 80s, and it kind of irritated me because I knew, thanks to you, that these drawings were forged. They had left off the human part of the slide, and I guess they might have thought that was a good compromise or something. But anyway, I mean, it's still that does not mean that the rest of the theory is wrong.
Okay,
this is a good example of that.
No,
I've taken enough of your time.
You think it's good that we're trying to get that stuff corrected, though, correct?
I don't think that you're going to be very successful, though, because you're kind of flying it in on the wings of creationism in general, and It gives people a bad taste. You're not going to get people to listen to what you're trying to say if you're trying to discount the entire textbook.
No, I'm not, and I don't. I just point out, you can watch my seminar.
I have watched quite a bit of your seminar.
I say, I'm not against textbooks. I'm not against teachers. My mother and brother were both public school teachers. My brother led me to the Lord. There are many good godly teachers in the system. The books have a lot of good science. I use the illustration of, rat poison being 99.995% good food.
Right.
I'm not against the science, and there's a lot of good science in the books, and I love it, and I teach it. However, there is some poison, and it ought to be taken out, or the kids ought to at least be warned about it. And I don't see what the danger with that is. Why would you not say, hey, kids, the information on page 85 has been proven wrong. Don't use this on a test.
They shouldn't tell it to them in class. The publishers themselves should be held accountable for being factual.
I agree.
That's really a separate issue. You're against the entire theory of evolution. It's not.
Well, I am, but I'm only against it because there's no evidence that holds up other than these lies.
Yeah, actually, we're in favor of 20% of evolutionary theory, which is known as microevolution.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think kids ought to be taught, hey, varieties happen. Chihuahuas and Great Danes had a common ancestor. Look at this variation. And then if the teacher wants to go on and say, now, I believe this proves they came from a rock. Oh, now there they stepped over the line.
Next time I call into your show, we'll talk about what it would take for you to believe in the theory of evolution, because I'm trying to help you, Ken.
A lobotomy.
I can arrange that.
Okay, hey, thanks for calling, Jared. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, thanks, folks, for rescue, for waiting, being so patient. If you want to call in, be on the program, 850-479-DINO, extension 136, or instant message us, as hundreds have, and I'll get over here, Jonathan, and try to answer them as quick as possible. You can instant message us at Dr. Dino Live, but that's been our policy, to try to take calls first and instant message second.
It's really cool. I just want to kind of put out some props there. I really appreciate when people like Eric, who have an open mind, and they have, I guess, a slow spirit. They're willing to talk about things without going completely ballistic, whenever their ideas are challenged. So I really appreciate people like Eric.
And I do.
Or not Eric,
Jared,
yeah.
And if he's now realizing that the textbooks have an improper picture of the gill slits which were forged, he's coming around, and if he keeps studying, he's going to realize, wow, they're also telling a lie on this page, 114. And, wow, look at this, at page 265. There's a lie there, too. And actually, he gets all done studying, he's going to find, we're right on everything, Jonathan.
And we've got a third microphone here for whenever he gets converted and saved and wants to come down and do some work in the ministry.
We could use another mathematician around here. Sure. Okay, let's see. We have left off with...